Hello there. My name is Daniel Hutskin. I've been working on the CMDB for maybe 20 years now, and I wanted to create this channel so we can so I can share my frontline experience of what it's actually like to support this product, to work with this product, to be an administrator, developer, and etc. I worked for BMC for about 20 years, and since about 2008, I've worked on the CMDB exclusively under I think it was managed by John Barron at the time. It's been a long road to get to where we are today, and the interesting part here for me is what CMDB has become. It's still kind of not really liked by a lot of people because it's complicated to an extent. You have to know quite a bit of data structuring and then see how it relates, how these objects relates to each other. Like for example, people and the way they're using computers or who's responsible for what. So there are relationships in the asset management, but the term of relationship is not the same within the CMDB. The CMDB actually has a class that defines all the relationships, but the like the used by and supported by relationships in asset management is a bit different concept. So I worked with people around the world, and many of them actually in India, Mexico, Argentina, France, and the UK. Some in Germany. I haven't really done a lot of work in the Eastern country like Russia or Czech Republic or Poland. I think there was only one case that I did in Italy, and there were a few cases in South on the South Globe in Australia and New Zealand. I have quite a bit of experience of actually getting things done into production, but we now have this. Well, now it's been out for a while, but we have this agile product that helps us to go through like weekly sprints where we basically decide what we're going to do for the next 2 weeks and so on. So I just came out of one of those meetings, and it's it can be a little painful, and I recommend very strong coffee to be brought into these meetings because you really literally have to give definitions of something that you're doing. And I kind of feel that the agile is a bit of a revenge of management for all the technobabble, the technical people been giving to management for the last 25 years or so. So if you're new to the CMDB, I think this may be some good information for you, so you can see what it will look like when you end up in there. Now, I don't think there's an actual like a degree that says when you graduate you're gonna be a CMDB administrator. Usually these are jobs that are given to people um, that may have an experience in that field, but there really is no like a good definition of what management really wants from you. So often they basically would say, what I'd like to see is this. How can you make it happen? And then when you make it happen, there's lots of criticism, but there's really no design to begin with, right? So you have to kind of give them a slack here to just say, um, I can get this done, and I think that's probably the best answer to everything. Can you get it done? And the answer is yes, I can get it done. um, how I'm gonna do it, you don't have to think about that yet because that's gonna go into the sprint. So if you work with the agile process where you can tell the story, this is what the goal is, and I really encourage to break in the stories down to individual components, because if you make your epic too big and don't break down every single step into process, it will be difficult to explain what you're stuck on. Right? These are the breaking points, or as they call it in my current employer, is calling these roadblocks. Right. So the roadblocks here, uh, they're kind of easy to complain about, but if you didn't define them, you didn't predict them before, then you now have to create a new story, which means you may have to wait till the next sprint. So always think in terms of what could be a roadblock and wanna not define it as a roadblock, but this is what you want to do. And then even if it's like a decision by a team, we need to get a team decision of what we want to do here, and then put that into paper or write it down. Usually there is a scrum master that will write all this stuff down, and the Scrum Master has like no insight into the details of what it actually will take to get it done. But they're great at, they're kind of like the administrators of 1999. I don't know if anybody remembers this stuff, but there was like this word synergy back then that everybody was just like, yeah, synergy in the background, right? But it was heavily used by management because they really have no other word for it. So and that's kind of what I'm seeing here, is that today agile, not that agile is synergy, impersonified, but it's similar process where when something is not understood, it's defined as an epic, the big story, and then becomes the steps in there. So the CMDB then on the front line becomes you having to have an experience with a relationship between computer systems, network cards, applications, virtual objects like data centers where they have a bunch of virtual machines, and then people, and then support groups that consist of people that can respond to an incident that's tracked in a incident tracking by some change request, or even service request and things like that. Now, one thing that I'm currently trying to sell is the idea of service management, because it's still 20 years later, even though we have had service impact management out there for 20 years. It was started by company IT Masters, and I was blessed enough to work for those guys, who then were able to define the business model really for service impact management and how it works with the actual objects on the network. So in this concept of the product service catalog, where you have either a technical service or business service that's associated with the amount of dollars that are either lost or produced by that business process, and then having the ability to calculate how much money is being lost or made by this particular service. So therefore, you want to know how long will it take if there's an impact on it. So the prediction engine, which says the simulation of that impact, says, if you let this be down for 2 days, you're gonna lose $50 million. And I think this goes back to circa 2003, 2004, something like that, where Amazon went down for like 15 hours or something to that effect, and nobody noticed. And in that time, they lost some, I don't know, $5 million or something like that, which was a lot of money, and then got people's attention. And then suddenly service impact management became a thing, right? And IT Masters got bought out by BMC, and I got onboarded by that, and I've been doing that ever since. It's a fun job. Sometimes it can be very stressful because you have to translate your idea to somebody that doesn't understand what you're talking about. And even though you're not looking forward to that sort of thing, you don't want to be really confrontational with anyone, but it can cause some friction. So that's my first video. Hopefully you guys will find some use for it, and I'll plan to have some more, maybe with a suit on and so on. Nice to talk to you. Have a nice day. Bye-bye. Yes.